Hello, FPL managers. Welcome to episode 98 of the FPL Optimized podcast. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. Game week 1 is behind us. The game has kicked off. Sertalp, how are you doing, and how did your game week 1 go?
I'm doing fine. I'm still a little bit sick, but other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Game week one was actually much better than I expected. You usually start the season with a terrible score and then try to recover from there. But this time around, I got 80 points, same as you.
Yeah.
The rank doesn't matter, but it is around 300k, which is pretty solid start. Given that I didn't have Haaland in my team. Yeah. How was your game week?
Yeah, but the same. We cannot complain with 80 points, I would say.
Sure.
In my case, yeah, I didn't have Salah as captain, so I was maybe a little bit behind, I would say, after the Liverpool game. But still ending with 80 points, which means that my team did quite well across the board. So I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, good start, and it's still equal in our head-to-head competition because
Yes.
we'll keep track again this
Yes.
year.
Yeah. We started with a tie, which is
Yeah, we
interesting.
started with a tie, man. Who could imagine that? But okay, cool. But yeah, something I still wanted to ask you about because I saw that when you posted your game week 1 team, I was a little bit surprised to be honest. Because when we covered the optimal teams last week, each time there was Haaland in there, and then I saw in your team that yeah, you didn't have Haaland, but you had Salah. And I also suddenly saw Vicario in goal, which I think was also new. So I was just wanted to ask also here
Yeah.
today, also for the audience, like what happened and what basically changed for you close to the deadline.
So I think Haaland teams were like optimal for the most part. The reason was so basically the markets were thinking that Salah can still get transferred out to another team, like maybe to Saudi Arabia.
Ah,
So
really?
that was impacting his expected value. I mean, his projections were a little bit mixed because of it. So, but if you want to bet on him staying in Liverpool, then if you set his availability to 1, then you could see that his EV was actually pretty decent. And
Mm,
Salah enables lots of good players too. I mean, if you look at the Salah teams versus Haaland teams,
yeah,
Salah teams are more balanced, I will say.
yeah,
Um, and so I was in between. I decided to take a run on the deadline day. Actually, I didn't want to think too much about my team beforehand. I always thought I will have Haaland in my team. I did a
yeah,
solve. I saw Salah. I said, okay, I will lock him in. So one thing I realized that the solver was leaving zero point 0.5 in the bank to essentially cover some unexpected scenarios. Like if Salah goes, then you use that money, like extra money, to bring 2 good
yeah,
players instead. I
yeah.
said, okay, I mean, that's fine. And I saw Vicario. I didn't even think about it. And I was kind of also panicking because I was doing this 30 minutes before deadline. So,
Oh wow, okay.
and then after everything settled down, I was like, why did I get Vicario? But I think like Tottenham has good, like, at least in terms of data, they have good fixtures,
Yeah,
some good clean sheet probability. So
yeah,
I don't regret much. But yeah, after deadline, I was also asking myself, why did I end up with this team? So
yeah.
that was funny.
Well, it's quite funny. All the time we spend on preparing the podcast, and then you were still in a rush running it for your own team last minute.
Yeah, it's true.
That's good. But yeah, good start for you. So yeah, well done. And yeah, we can now look towards game week 2. And I think especially also with the new rules in mind in which we can save more transfers, but also in general, I would say typically for game week 2, we try to save a transfer because I think everybody thought so much about the game week 1 team that ideally you're set up well also for game week 2. So I don't know if many people will be making transfers, but still we'll cover a few options that we think look good based on the data. But in general, would you say that it's a smart thing to save a transfer? I guess you would, right?
Yeah, I mean, transfers are valuable, obviously,
Yeah,
especially since the transfer. window is not closed yet, so we don't
Yeah.
really know like if these players are nailed or not. So, or like in Pedro Porro's case, for example, like there was an injury scare. So you want to keep
Yeah.
your free transfers if possible, but at the
Yeah.
same time, some people in our analytics Discord actually decided to sell some of their players who were about to drop in price.
Okay.
And Trad also, it is FF underscore Trad on Twitter. He also tweeted a few stuff about this. But
Okay.
essentially, losing team value, 0.1 team value right now is almost equivalent to 1 expected value through the season.
Okay.
So, well, if you have an obvious choice, like there's not much reason to just save the free transfer just for saving it. So because sometimes it um, locks you out of so many transfers. So maybe if one of your players are dropping in price, it might make sense. But otherwise, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no point of chasing points, I
Okay.
should say.
Yeah. I decided to not look too much at it, like these price change predictors, especially now in the beginning. Kwanzaa dropped, so that was, I think, a lot of people who had Kwanzaa were like, okay, we need to sell him, and I think probably many
Yes.
people did.
Yeah.
In my case, I decided to just keep him. I think, I personally think there's still a good chance that he will start game week 2.
Okay.
And even if he doesn't start, I'll have the two transfers them for game week 3, and I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it then. Also, keeping a little bit in mind, I think what Jonas said when we had him in the pot, last year's FPL winner, that he actually wasn't looking so much at price changes. So at least that's what I understood from him. Sorry if I quote you not correctly, Jonas, if you're listening. But no, so yeah, no transfers from me, and I will save it as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
That's the best option.
Okay. So yeah, for today we were thinking what's the best to do, because yeah, everybody fixed their team. Probably nobody will be wildcarding, or just very few people. So it might not make too much sense to look at an optimal team again. Instead, what we will do, we will cover the best options per line. So we'll look at defense, midfield, and attack. So for anyone who's considering making transfers this week, we'll look at the best options based
Hmm.
on the data. So, Sertalp, let's look at what you could prepare for this.
Sure. The first category is defenders. So I plotted this expected value and price plot if you are watching on YouTube. If you are listening, so my purpose in this segment is to show like which players in each like price category has the highest expected value and if they are worth it. So when you plot this, scatter plot, you want to have the players that are highest in expected value, whichever price category you are going for. And the first thing that's very obvious here is that Alexander Arnold has the highest price, but at the same time, he has the highest expected value, 30.5 in 8 game weeks.
Eight
And
game
again,
weeks.
8 game weeks. This is the
Okay.
ensemble
Yeah.
data, by the way. And then the next player who has the highest EV is Gabriel. So there's like 1 million drop, but there's a small drop in EV. It is from 30.5 to 29.7. So in this price category, there are more players. Like there's Guardiola, Saliba, Robertson, whose EV
Mm-hmm.
is slightly lower. So in this given order, but they are all like 6 million, which is pretty good. And then the next drop is Pedro Porro at 5.5. So his EV is almost like 3 to 4 EV less, like for 8 game weeks. But if you think about EV per price, he's like one of the best picks. I think when I was building my team, he was the player that I locked into my team. He was the only player, if I remember correctly, because in terms of the price points and expected value, like he is really, really good. And
Mm-hmm.
then at 4.5 category, we have Konsa, whose EV is really high, 23.6, compared to the alternatives. And so these players, again, like they are highly owned, so it's not like we
Yeah.
are uncovering something that people didn't discover before. But and we also have the same defense line with you, so which is not surprising. But yeah, these are the best defenders to own. Um,
Okay, that looks good. And I think
mhm.
what we saw in game week one basically is that the premium defenders in general delivered. Trent had a good game. Arsenal kept a clean sheet. Same for City, and Porro, of course, scored a goal, which
Yeah,
was nice to see the header. But of course, that's no guarantee that this will be the same in next game weeks. But at least the
sure.
premium defenders made a good start.
Yes. Um, in the midfielder category, the first thing we notice is Salah. Salah is like obviously way more expensive than everyone else, but at the same time, his EV is the highest. Then
Yeah,
we actually have Palmer at like 10.5. So his price point is a little bit awkward. So not many people
yeah,
were able to fit him into their
yeah,
teams. But yeah, he has the highest EV after Salah in midfield category. And then we have Saka. So after Saka, there's a big drop. So like for example, Son is the next player who has the highest EV after Saka, but they are still at the same price. So it doesn't make sense to have Son if you can afford Saka in your team.
okay, right.
Um, but if you are just following the efficient frontier, the next like downgrade is Bruno Fernandes 8.5, and he's a really good pick if you are looking for
Yeah,
trying to maximize your expected value for a cheaper price. And then we have
yeah,
Eze. Actually, Eze was in some of my solves. I was very
yeah,
close to picking him into my team too, but at the same time, the uncertainty around his availability made me think twice. So I just decided to exclude him from my team. And then
that's
we
because
have
of transfer rumors, right?
yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And then we have Nkunku at 6.5, and his EV is pretty decent still.
yeah.
So, and well, there are also other midfielders in like slightly lower price categories, but these are the top midfielders to own. They also enable
Okay.
lots of good combinations too.
Yeah. Slightly worries me because the top five you're showing, I don't have them. So, but okay. Hopefully, hopefully my other guys can cover me. But yeah, out of these, of course, Salah and Saka had a good start.
hmm
The rest less so. Palmer didn't see
Yeah,
much.
had a bad
Uh,
fixture. Yeah,
Yeah, that's for sure. Chelsea, we didn't expect much. Same for Nkunku. And
yeah.
Nkunku now, of course, has a bit of doubts around minutes, but I think that's what we expected anyway as well
hmm
when we took him in our teams. Some kind of fitness concerns, but yeah, still okay for now, I would say. Yeah, and Bruno and Eze are both a bit unlucky. Probably they could have gotten more, but yeah,
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah, exactly.
decent shouts.
Yeah,
All right, then the
and
attackers.
yeah, forwards. Like this graph is just very funny. Like
Haaland.
Haaland is just out there by himself. Like in
Oh,
terms of expected value, he is 17 points, almost 17 points more than the next guy, who's Watkins.
right.
So
Hmm.
that's like a huge difference. And also in terms of price, too. I mean, Watkins is
Yeah,
9, Holland is 15 million. So it's just
that's,
very weird, but it
yeah,
is probably right. It's exactly how we feel. Holland is too expensive, but at the same time, he has lots of potential to bring points.
yeah,
But yeah, let's talk about the other guys. So Watkins has the second highest EV in the forward among forwards. Then we have Isaac with 8.5. And then we have Havertz at 8 million, and then Solanke at 7.5. So it's very nice
yeah,
because like if you just order them by EV, you see that their price also follows the same like
yeah,
trend. Like it goes down. Pretty
yeah,
nice pricing there, I guess. So Solanke is the highest in 7.5 category, and then there's a jump from 7.5 all the way to 6. There is actually not much players besides Mateta, but he's the same price as Solanke, so Solanke is a better option there. And then we have Muniz at 6 million, and then Joe Pedro at 5.5. So these players are the best forward picks if you are looking to, transfer one of your players.
yeah, yeah. Okay, looks good.
And so let me ask you this time around then, Who's your best picks for defenders, midfielders, and forwards if people are looking for transfers to make?
Yeah, so that's a bit more eye test judgment, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
In defense, definitely agree on the premium side, right? If you can afford him, Trent. I think Trent looked really good. He almost had an assist with the header by Jota. I mean, for me, I have both of them, so that would have been really nice. Trent assist, Jota goal. It didn't happen, but I think he looked really good. Mazraoui, difficult to pronounce, but bit surprising that he started right away in the United squad. I still know him from the Ajax days, so he's a very good defender. Just 4.5, if I'm not mistaken, in the game. So I think if United prove to be quite stable, then I think Mazraoui could be definitely a good option. I also like Maatsen at Villa, even though he didn't start yet. So I think that's something we need to keep an eye on. But if he
Mm-hmm.
once he has secured the starting spot, which I think most of us expect to happen, he can be a really attractive option as he's quite attacking, and Villa has a really good run of fixtures as of game week 3. So I'm hoping that he will have secured his spot by then. And one more I just added now because there are some transfer rumors that Van den Berg, who is a young Dutch guy at Liverpool, might make a transfer to Brentford. He's a really promising player, but at Liverpool he's just behind a few big names, so he's not really getting playing time. But Brentford is willing to pay quite a lot of money for him, and in FPL he's just 4.0 million. So if he makes the move to Brentford if he gets a starting spot, then that's definitely also one to keep an eye on, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in the midfield, I really like Mitoma.
Mm-hmm.
We I think we talked a little bit about Brighton before. We know that they can play really attractive football, and we know also that Mitoma can be a really good FPL asset. And I think he proved that again in game week 1. He had a goal, scored 8 points, 6.5 million. The fixtures are a bit mixed, but they have two really good home fixtures in game week 4 and 5 against Ipswich and Nottingham. So yeah, there's always a bit of rotation risk in Brighton, but Mitoma can definitely be a very attractive player, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then attack, yeah, just from an eye test perspective, I really thought Armstrong from Southampton looked really good. He created some good opportunities, had a few good shots at goal. So it's probably not a team we want to invest in, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he'll score a few goals in the next couple of weeks. And with the price of 5.5 million, it could be an option if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
for someone at that price point. And talking about that price point, I also thought Welbeck at Brighton looked really good. We've been talking a lot about João Pedro, but now Welbeck was in the team. He played 90 minutes. He had a goal and an assist, so he scored 12 points. So I think if he also keeps his starting position, then definitely Welbeck can also be a player to keep an eye on.
Okay, yeah. Pretty
So
nice.
yeah.
I feel like you're mostly following the points, but
No,
maybe
no,
a few
no.
exceptions. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been watching quite some games this weekend,
Okay,
and
okay, okay.
yeah. No,
That's
some
nice.
players like Madsen, he didn't score too
Yeah,
many
yeah, yeah.
goals,
That's true. That's true.
but he gave the kind of pre-assist. You don't get points for that, but he was involved in the attack. So
Yep, yep, yep.
yeah. But you're right. These are the guys that stood out in game week 1, and some of them also scored points. That's true. Maybe too easy.
This game is solved. It's easy.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So we covered it from the data side, and thanks
Hmm.
for allowing me a few minutes to also talk about it from the eye test side.
Sure, I enjoyed.
Let's switch to the other topic we always cover, preparing for the next game week, which is the captaincy options.
Sure. Captaincy is just obvious this week, but Haaland is at 9.11 EV in ensemble
Yeah.
data, and the second
Yeah.
highest player is Salah, 7.72.
Yeah.
So there's, well, no doubt that everyone who has Haaland will captain Haaland, and
Yes.
people who don't have Haaland, they most likely have Salah in their team, and
Yeah.
7.7 is EV, so that they will
Yeah.
captain Salah for sure.
Yeah.
But just following the list, we have De Bruyne at third position, 6.4, Son
Yeah.
at 6.09, and then we have Palmer at the fifth position, 6.08, and then Foden 5.89, and finally Isaac at 5.46.
Yeah.
I also checked the Fantasy Football Scouts captaincy poll to see which way people are just voting for their captaincy. Haaland is leading with 66.3%, and then the second popular pick is Salah with 11.7. Well, there are also the remaining votes are just split between lots of other players, but yeah, we can
Yeah.
easily see that Haaland's captaincy will be really high. I also
Yeah.
checked the analytics Discord because we also have a captaincy poll that we
Okay.
run almost every week, and so currently Haaland has 74 votes, and Salah has 24 votes, and 3 people also voted for Haaland, but as a triple captain option.
Triple captain. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually 2 people, I should say. But yeah, as you see, I mean the ratio is somewhat maybe the same.
Yeah.
So like a significant chunk of players will captain Haaland, and then the
Yeah.
remaining will captain Salah. For
Yeah.
triple captaincy, I also tweeted this before, but when we look at the season, the entire season, this
Yeah.
game week looks like the highest expected value for any player through the season among single game weeks. Obviously, we don't know the doubles yet.
Okay.
So, um, for people who are considering triple captaincy, yeah, it might be a good option. But if you are playing analytically, there's always a benefit to wait until we have doubles, because we tend to get
Yeah.
higher expected value in one of the doubles by some player. It doesn't have to be Haaland. It could be
Yeah.
someone else too.
Yeah.
So if I had my triple captain, well, I have my triple captain, but
You
I
have
don't have Haaland.
it.
I don't have Haaland, so I don't have the
All right.
option to triple
Yeah.
captain him anyway. But
Yeah.
even if I was in that position, I would probably save it. But at the same time, if you feel like, well, there will be less doubles this season, so
Right.
I really want to do this because there's no Champions League. Haaland
Yeah.
is available, we know that.
Yeah.
So Haaland had also good start in game week 1.
Yeah.
It's not the worst idea, I should say. I mean, I can see the logic.
Yeah. Same for me. I can see the logic, but I won't do it. Prefer to keep it. But yeah, definitely can see the logic. I also see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't value this chip so much anyway. I'm
Hmm.
happy to just use it and not having to think about it anymore." So this is definitely a good game. This could be a hat trick game for Haaland easily.
Yeah, sure. I hope not.
So then, no. Well, for me, I would still be happy even just with the normal captaincy of Haaland, and that is actually another argument. Also, the lower ownership, right?
Yeah,
Usually, Haaland is 80 or 90% owned, and everybody triple captains him. So then you don't really gain, and in this case, it's more
yeah,
around the 50% ownership. So yeah, if you go for it now, there is something you can gain there. But so yeah,
yeah.
definitely some people who have maybe more balls than we do. You could go for it, but yeah, we'll probably save it for later.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's I think the things we wanted to cover today. So the
Yeah.
transfer options and the captaincy. Again, we try to keep it short. It's from the feedback we received. It seems people appreciate it, so it's easy to listen to. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Sertalp?
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. Then a quick look at the mini league because that started as well, of course, and we already have something like 280 teams in it, so that's pretty cool. Thanks for joining, and you can still join via the code GXNDK, and Sertab also has it on the screen. A quick shout out to the top 3, even though it's after game week 1, but a few people who made a good start. We had Rohan de Souza with 94 points. We had Emil K on number 2, also 94 points. And we have Michael Jobling with 93 points on number 3. So they made a good start. Well done. And that's it for today. So we'll be back with a new episode next week. You can subscribe to our podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is out. And you can also follow us on X For Sertalp, it's at Sertalp Bilal, and for me, it's at Belfi BB. And we also have the separate account for the pod, which is at FPL Optimized. And on top, you can find us also on YouTube.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.
Goodbye.